Welcome back. This is Youth Cafe, and tonight we want to really discuss how the rise of inflation, the rise of high-cost living has really affected young people. So in studio here, we have an amazing panel. Remember, you can be part of this conversation. Just tweet us at KTN News, at Zinzi_K, at Brian_Asili. Tweet us your thoughts. How are you coping with this rise of inflation that we've been seeing, or rather the cost of living? So in studio, allow me to introduce our panel. Right next to me is Christine Murithi, who works within the cooperative society that is. Thank you so much for coming. And Asili, I can see you also have a gentleman on your side.
Gentleman amekaa hapa hivi anaitwa Emmanuel Atamba. He's a student and also one of the best when it comes to training farmers. So niko sure ni businessman. So wacha tuingie kwa hii conversation.
He's part of the Route to Food Alliance. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have been able to do, and that's fantastic. Allow me to start with the obvious question. Of course, we also have someone who is joining us from I&M, and once we have that fixed, we will also introduce him. I'm sure you know him. He's no stranger to here on Youth Cafe or KTN News. But let me also just begin this conversation. Kristen, for you, you've been working for 5 years, and I want to come back and really hear how you have been managed to survive. Because right now, one of the people who are joining us is a person from Centonomy. He goes by the name Waithaka Gatumia, who is a general manager within Centonomy. Waithaka, thank you so much, as always, for making time to come here on KTN News. I hope you're having a lovely Friday. And you will also help us to understand how young people can really be surviving in this economy.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I hope I can be able to help.
All right, fantastic. And so I just want to begin by asking the young people with us here in SET how they really try to cope with this high rise of inflation, especially within food, 20%. So, Kristen, you've been working for 5 years, you live alone. For you, when the prices went up and you went shopping for your monthly shopping or weekly, depending on how you do it, how did you receive it? Were you shocked? What were your friends saying?
Basically, that was a really hard thing to start with.
Yeah.
But what you do, you just have to cut down on your budget. If, for example, you're spending 200 shillings in a day, for just saying,
an example,
you have to cut down to 150. That way, you'll be able to cope with the current economy. Yes.
All right. Okay. Emmanuel, for you, before we come in and you tell us more about the Route to Food Alliance, which I can't wait to hear. Talk to us about how you have managed to survive in this specific inflation.
First of all, thank you for having me. The recent food situation is something that has affected so many people.
True.
And I can't say I was not affected. But as a young person, we have all this energy, we have all these brains. So I was able to go out and hustle, skip some classes, make ends meet, and I managed until we're back to normal.
You said something interesting.
Yeah.
Skip some classes. So you're currently pursuing. You're currently in school.
Yeah.
All right. So you had to sacrifice a few classes in order to have a few more side hustles to meet your needs.
Exactly.
Wow. So it came to a point where you had to choose classes or having to do a side hustle.
Actually, come up with a balance.
Yeah.
That you're actually stable, you're okay, you're not missing meals, and you are getting at par with the books.
Like Christine, did you also manage to slash your expenditure?
Yeah.
Like Christine, did you manage to slash?
To cut my budget a bit?
You're using 200, you were like, 150.
Not really. When it comes to food, food is it's a basic need. Yeah, it's a basic need. You can't reduce the packets of unga you're buying because of the prices are high. You just have to find ways to put the unga on the table. Yeah, whatever it takes, and I believe that cuts across. Food is very basic. You can't reduce it. There are some costs you can reduce. You can reduce going out, eating in the restaurants, but the basic needs have to be met.
Mimi nataka kumuuliza kama msichana, sukari imepanda, unga imepanda, kila kitu imepanda. Na get food si rahisi. Don't you think that kuna watu wenye just because of lacking all these basic needs, imefanya wakaanza kufanya vitu zingine different just to be able to make ends meet, like kuji-involve na crime, ama kufanya 2 extra jobs, ama 3, ama 4, na hakuna jobs. So we kama youth uko na job, lakini unafilaje kuhusu wale watu wenye hawana job huko nje?
Actually, for them, it's a bit hard because for me, when I'm working, I find it that sometimes on weekends I have to go and do something else, maybe do an extra job So for them, if I myself am finding it hard to deal with this situation, so I think they're having a really bad time. But unless maybe this job, like the exploitation of their talent, everyone has their own talent.
True.
Which is a talent?
I do a lot of things. I can't tell.
Panel imegeuka.
I know. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, like if you know your talent, like those people who are good in plating, those people who are good in knitting. Actually, when you know you can do that in a good way, you can do that as an extra thing
Side
for you.
hustle. Yeah.
Exactly, and you can get enough money even to
Do so.
buy that
Waithaka.
unga.
Go ahead.
Ningetaka kumuuliza swali. Sahi, I don't think, sijui kama ananisikia. Waithaka unanisikia? Oh, so nilikuwa nataka kuuliza very simple question. This time round, mayouth wako na kazi, wako na pesa, lakini hiyo pesa value yake imeenda chini. What do you think they need to do to be able to boost their as in income yangu ni hivyo ni constant, lakini value yake iko chini. Hebu niambie, what do you think the youth should do about it?
Well, I think what you've been discussing is already, you're down the right track. Number one, create new sources of income if you can. And one of the things I wanted to mention is don't go after money. Go after value. Because if you create value, money will find you. Because many times we're searching for money rather than looking for how can I make something better in this world? How can I add to the company that I'm working for or to the various things that are going on? And then secondly, as we've been talking about cutting down on your expenses, often we think, oh, we have to cut and our life is going to be so difficult and everything. And I do understand that for many Kenyans, when you're living below the poverty line, it's very hard to find anywhere to cut. But when I'm speaking to the middle class in Kenya, and there are a large group of people, often we don't know where our money is going. So one of the things that we have to do, first of all, is figure out where is your money going. If you track your expenses, you will be shocked how much you're actually spending more than you need. And in those areas where it's a want rather than a need, you can be able to find a way to wiggle around and find a way to cut back in a way that will not destroy your life and you'll find like it's the end of the world. So what we've been discussing so far, and I think from the examples that have been given so far, Brian and Zinzi, that's exactly the way to go. Find ways to cut back. But often you need to cut back on things that you know. Most of us don't know where our cash is going. That's one of the biggest issues.
Haya, asante sana. Of course, kila wiki si huenda kwa city streets, lakini this time round tumeenda Kakamega tusikie watu hii inflation high cost imewaffect aje. Wacha tuone the people of Kakamega.
Ukienda kununua unga kwa duka ndio utanunua kwa shilingi 90, lakini ukienda kusiaga bado bei ni ile ile tu. Mahindi 140, ukiongeza na kusiaga 150. Sasa tuoni kama serikali imetufanyia mambo ya ajabu, lakini tungependa kuomba wapunguze hata bei ya mahindi. Walisema itarudi mpaka 2300, irudi tafadhali.
Mimi unga hapo serikali imetudori. Serikali imetutanganya hapo kwa sababu supermarket ukienda hiyo unga hakuna. Alafu ukienda reserve huko ndio shida kabisa. Mama hawezi kupea unga kwa shilingi 150 mpaka uongeze 170 ndio akupatie unga ambapo hujasiaka. Hapo serikali inatudori. Sasa sijui hiyo unga iko tu huko juu ama itafika huko kwetu.
Unga hapa taskisi imepunguka, lakini kule mashinani bado bei iko juu sana. Tunaomba hii serikali ya mkate mbili hii ya Uhuru na Ruto waweze kupunguza mahindi kabisa. Mahindi ishuke chini, watu wapate ugali. Na naona hii unga kiendelea kupunguka na maana hivi walio watakula ugali na tutasikia mzuri sana kwa sababu tunapenda ugali. Na naona hii bei ipunguke kabisa, hata irudi shilingi 70. Itoke 90 ikuje 70 ili tupate Wakenya wapate kukua na nafuu na sukari na vitu vingine zote na mafuta.
Nasiaganga unga ya gorogoro. Na unga ya gorogoro hiyo kusema ukweli nanunua 140 na siagia shilingi 10. Hiyo ni 150. Kwa hivyo serikali kushukisha hiyo unga ya pakiti, mimi naona sisi watu ambao tunatumia gorogoro wametufinya, sababu wamesahau sisi. Sababu unga ya pakiti hiyo ina mara mingi inanufaisha watu ambao wanaishi town. Sisi watu ambao tuko mashinani wenye tunazoea ile unga ya gorogoro, serikali imetusahau.
umesikia hii maneno vile walio wamesema ukali lazima ishukishwe kutoka 90 mpaka 70. Unajua korokoro ni expensive. So I'd like to ask you guys a simple question. Umesikia serikali imeshukisha unga kutoka 150 wamesongesha mpaka 90. Lakini sasa hata na hiyo 90 bob kuna watu wakuli unga ya pakiti. Si ndio? Wanaenda kwa posho mills kwenda kusaga nini unga. So meaning bado hawezi pata. Lazima watafute mahindi ndio waende waifanye ikuweko unga. Si ndio?
Actually it's hard.
So that they what do you think? Na pia kuna mayouth wako affected. Una feel aje kuhusu story?
What I think is we need to come up with long-term solutions towards food insecurity. And,
Yes.
You know, this what you have just experienced is a case of food insecurity. Yeah, you know, we don't know where the maize is. We don't know who has the maize. We don't know how we can get this maize and at what price.
We're importing it from Mexico.
Yeah, we are importing the maize from Mexico, and yet we have farmers here who have land. They're not using the land. So I think in future, you know, as we think about this problem, you know, we need to find long-term solutions, not just, you know, like we solve it for a month or a week and then we go back to the same situation.
Aseli, very quick, I want to ask you a question.
Ask me a question.
Do you have a budget? Be honest.
Mimi niko na budget.
That's a
Sinajua
lie.
nakulanga ugali Monday, Tuesday nakula kwa mama wa kibanda. Si
That's a timetable.
Chakula,
That's
najua.
no, that's a
but sasa
timetable.
najua wiki yangu moja vile imejipanga. Ikijipanga hivyo end month najua chapati peke yake nakulanga chapati 60 kwa mwezi. You know?
Christine, because this guy is just giving me a timetable. Christine, do you have a budget and has that budget worked for you?
Yes, it has. Actually, there's this application called Monify.
Oh, okay.
You download it. Then
Aseli.
Sorry, in Italian.
Aseli,
Monify.
take notes. Take notes.
Yeah, that application is whereby you put everything, all the utilities, school fees, expenses, rent, everything. It has a slot where you put all that. That way, every day you'll be able to manage what you spend or in a month.
Honestly, Christine, I've got to tell you, you're a young person, you've used technology, it's fantastic. So I will be honest with you, my budget is on a pen and paper. For you, for you, Emmanuel, do you have personally a budget?
Yeah, what I do when I get some money, I draft the budget based on the income I've gotten. You know, I can do a deal. Sometimes I do stuff. You know, I'm an agriculturalist. Sometimes I do gardening.
Yeah.
So I can be called in an estate to do gardening, and I get something like 10K. What I do, I look at the basic needs. You know, like what I really need in the house. Then I buy like with the half of it, and then the rest I can keep. You know, just to remain young and spend around. You know.
Great.
Mimi sina budget lakini kuna priorities.
Oh, okay.
Sasa kuna nikishatoa pesa ya mwezi hivi savings. Niko sawa.
Wait, Daka, first of all, help us understand here. We know that budgets are important.
Yep.
It's obvious and it helps us track our expenditure. But what is it about budgets that, you know, young people and even people in general are so scared to put it down on paper?
Well, it's a discipline, and I think as human beings we are very much against disciplines in life, isn't it? So I think I really like what Christine said, because it's now very very possible to use applications which are fun to use, and some of them actually it's almost like a game that you're playing on your phone that can be able to assist you to do the same thing. But the good thing about a budget is that it helps you control. But often the issue that we have with our budgets is that it's very, how would I say, it's imprecise. In that we've decided, okay, we spend about 2,000 bob on this, we spend about 3,000 bob on that. Other than our rent, you know, the things that are for sure, the rent, the loan that you're paying, those are the ones that you know specifically. But for the rest of the things, it's usually about. So I'll give the young people a challenge. For 1 month, write down every cent you spend for 1 month. It will shock you where your money is actually going. And please print out your mobile money transactions and see how much money you have spent there. Please, please, please do this for 1 month, and you'll see where all that cash is actually coming from. Then you can do a realistic budget, which will help you to be able to manage in times like this, because inflation is going to be with us. It's going to be with us. And in fact, sometimes it's actually a good thing for an economy. In fact, if it's going the opposite way, if we have deflation, it can be bad for us. So it's about manageable inflation.
You know what, Wedaka, it's like you're reading my mind, because I was actually going to ask, what are some of the positive effects that we can be seeing even during this specific inflation? Allow me to start with the young people here in studio, then come to you. For you, Emmanuel, what are some of those positive effects that you think as young people we can still sort of squeeze juices from even in this part of the economy?
I would say, you know, hard times, you know, bring out innovation. You know, like it brings a reason why we need to think, why we need to do more than what we're doing when we face these hard times. So I think this one has acted that's the same way, you know.
I like that. It helps us to become more innovative. Aseli, Kristen, for you?
How you make it fun of me?
Kristen, for you?
Actually, it has led to technological advancement, whereby you find that many people right now are selling things online.
Yes.
Like the youths mostly, you will want to buy something and she'll bring it to you where you are at the doorstep. Yes, that's one of the
So innovation and technology.
Twitter nakwambia pia iko on fire, so we are receiving so many tweets. Of course, hashtag Youth Cafe. Peter Mwevu says, be smart with your budget, prioritize the basic things kama unga na sugar, also avoid impulse buying. And then kuna mwingine anasema, Mark Shem anasema, inflation forces us to cut costs such as eating out. Umeona? Ma youth pia tunakuwa affected hapo. Huwezi peleka demi nje, si ndio?
No, Aseli,
eating out. Na unajua lazima uende na kamtu kako. So, yeah, tunaendelea kureceive tweets kibao. Yeah, hashtag Youth Cafe at Brian_Aseli at Zinzi_care. Nakwambia.
I want to hear from Waithaka. Waithaka, what are some of the positive perspectives that we can see within an economy such as this right now?
Well, I guess you've seen it so far. If you look at those who are selling goods at this time, it means that they're goods that they created with at a certain price range, they're now selling at a higher price range than what was expected. And so it's really good for producers at this time. Within a certain range. Obviously, you don't want rampant inflation, what happened in some of the other countries like Zimbabwe. We don't want that here. But inflation that is manageable means that for those who are selling goods, it's rather good over the long term. If it is manageable in that everyone else can still be able to purchase your goods. If they become too expensive, then it doesn't work. But I love what Emmanuel said. It forces us to innovate, to be creative, and to figure out how do we come up with new ideas that are going to increase our income or to be able to reduce our spending. So whichever way you look at it, it's going to cause us to innovate. And I think young people are the most innovative in this country. Please, 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 this is the time to think about how to create value. If you can create value, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful draw card for that money that you're looking for to survive in these high inflation times.
Wow, okay.
Simple sana, Mr. Waithaka. Tuta create aje value na pesa yetu haitoki. There's no imports na exports. Na hata ikikuja, the government is not making sure that our currency has value in that we cannot compete with the dollar. So kila kitu bado inarudi tu inakuwa expensive. Unafikiria government pia inafaa itusaidie na hii maneno ama?
You see, the thing is this. Money is simply, how would I say, it's an expression of value. And so at this moment, yes, there's some issues as far as the shilling is towards the dollar, but it's not quite the same. And I don't want to get into the whole economic discussion here. What I want to say is that even within Kenya, if you come up with an innovative product that everybody wants to use. For instance, that app that Christine was talking about, if you come up with an app that you're going to tell people, if you use this app, you're going to save, that means that's valuable to somebody who wants to save, isn't it? And so once you have done that, you will pay for that value using money. You'll express that value using money, and that's what I'm talking about. If we start beginning to discuss the macroeconomic issues around this country, it can be depressing because, first of all, we don't really have a say. Actually, wait, we do have a say. Elections are coming up pretty soon. And depending on at county level, national level, if you're not satisfied, this is the place to begin to express that.
Of course.
But however, don't fight with those things that you cannot control. Be in control of what you have right now. Create value where you are, and that money will find you.
Okay.
He has actually made a very important point. You know, we actually do have a say. We have an impact, and that's with voting, which is coming up very soon. So, Emmanuel, for you, before we close off, tell me what are some of those real effects that maybe you and your close circles of friends and even family have really felt during this specific month?
I would say not really this month, but I would extend it to maybe 3 years. The few years before now. We have seen young people are very much affected. You know why? Young people don't have resources. If I'm at home and we are affected, my mom can decide to sell a cow Yeah, and I really, I appreciate this, that, the older people have resources at their disposal.
True.
So when the times are hard, they can dispose and survive. Okay. But young people suffer a lot because they don't have anything to dispose. Yeah, they don't have like capital to invest in new enterprises that can give them more income. And I can say that young people are the worst when these times come.
Okay, closing remarks, yeah? What is the advice that you have for young people? Because, I mean, you're a young person and you live independently. What is the advice that you have for young people?
I would repeat innovation.
Innovation?
Innovation is very key.
Okay.
I would direct this probably to the young people who have gotten some education. And, innovation is very, 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 very important. There's a lot that you can come up with. There's a lot that you can generate. In terms of value, there's a lot you can do. Personally, I do a lot and I work with various organizations. I talked about Route to Food, that is very much committed, you allow me to say, is very much committed to ending this politically oriented narrative towards chronic food insecurity. And, there's a lot that young people can do. But probably we have been misled. We are not focusing on the real issues. We are not focusing where there is value. We are not focusing where there is need for our services, and our energy as young people.
So I'm getting three things from you: innovation, side hustles, and focusing our energy in one area.
Yeah.
Very important. All right, Christine, for you, what will be your closing remarks for young people also? Especially the ones who are living alone. Those ones, even they could be at university, but you're living off campus, and you're really working with the money that your parents have given you, be it 1,000 bob, 2,500. What would your advice for young people in general be?
I'd advise them first to exploit their talents. Everyone has their own talent, and when you use that, when you discover your talent, you'll be able to make that extra coin, and when you make it, budget it well.
But talent in Kenya improve that hailipi. Kama mimi niliimba miaka 7. Nikaamua wacha tu nikue tu basi nifanye kazi kwa TV. So hebu niambie, kuna zile talent zingine zina take time before na hiyo living standards zishapanda. Zingojei at you gain kwanza ndio ianze kusumbua. Living standards zinasumbua every single day. What advice would you give to such a person who's struggling right now, even with struggling with their talents?
Basically, as much as we say the talents will struggle in talents, actually at the end of the day, when you put your effort in that and your mind in that, at the end of the day, you'll make it.
Wow. All right.
Yes.
Okay, let me just hear from Waithaka Gatume, who is the general manager from Centonomy. Waithaka, for you, what are the final comments? What would be your last word for young people when it comes to learning how to survive during inflation?
Thank you for that question, Zinzi. I think for us, one of the main issues is to remain positive, because with a positive mindset, you're able to be creative and to figure out ways out. Another thing that you need to figure out is get the right information. I mean, everything that we've been talking about today has been really inspirational, but it's just a little bit of a talk. Get the right information. And that's why, for instance, Centonomy is in the market, where we are now teaching people how do you manage your money and how do you begin to create value and to build assets. That's, I think, what Emmanuel was talking about, building assets that can begin to put money in your pocket rather than take money out of your pocket. So at Centonomy, and you can check us out at centonomy.com, we're talking to young people through our campus edition and through our Teens Boot Camp, where we're teaching people about value, especially the young people, and we're teaching people how to create value in order to earn money. And so all this can be summed up in saying this: get the right information, get the education that's going to help you out. And I'd really just like to invite all the young people, all the campus students to our campus hangout on the 10th of June. We're really looking forward to seeing you there at the Hotel 680, because we think that when we speak and we share information like this, people are going to be able to come out of that cycle of poverty and to begin to become successful. But one more thing, please remain positive, because that's where the creativity is going to come out. And by the way, to Brian, aren't there some young people making money through their talents of singing? Just because you're not able to do it, don't say others can't do it. Don't say others can't do it.
They're making much value from their talents, lakini ina take time, ka 2-3 years ndio uweze ku make it.
Oh, patience.
Hey, Brian, everyone. It takes time for everyone.
Okay. All right, Waithaka, thank you so much. I also want to thank our guest studios here, Christine and Jotham, young people who came out tonight and shared with us their real experience. I've gotten so much from them. Positivity, get the right information, use your talent, look for a side hustle, focus your energy, and remain positive. Wow. That's fantastic. That's a fantastic way to end the show.
Umesema kila kitu.
I know.
Mimi nataka
All right, so of course, on top of that, we are going to keep Art Corner and Techno It for next week due to time. But thank you so much for tuning in to Youth Cafe, and we had a great conversation. Thank you for those who also participated online using the hashtag Youth Cafe. My name is Zinzi Kibiku. Do have yourselves a great weekend.
The hottest man in Eastern Central Africa, Brian Aseli, have been dressed by a man called Chesa Creations. So of course, same time, same place next week.